are down, the phones are out, cable TV is out. For 6 hours now, Bertha has been blowing really hard.
SIV, yes, this is Chris, KD4.
It is just before noon. Bertha is about to hit land in Carteret County, North Carolina.
I think that's the eye on the Colorado.
I believe so, Steve.
The adrenaline is beginning to flow at the Emergency Command Center. But on Atlantic Beach, Bertha is just so much salt spray. For the now relaxed Gant family, Bertha is here, and the Gant summer house that has survived a half-dozen hurricanes since 1945 will be depended upon again for safety.
I think the house is sound, and I think the windows will hold up, and I think we'll be safe.
It's now 2 o'clock. The family home is holding, but in the face of 100-mile-an-hour winds, it needs help. The roof begins to leak as the baby rests, and the sun porch is now a rain porch as Bertha forces water through the storm windows. A daring beach walk is ended because the wind is blowing rain and sand like missiles across the beach. Very few people are still out in the outside right now. The wind is blowing just too hard now. The surf is very high because we're at high tide, starting at 6:03 Eastern Time. Brian, back to you.
Obviously rough where you are, Jim. Thank you. Get inside. Let's go to Frederica Whitfield in Wilmington for what it was like during the exodus out of there.
Well, I don't know about exodus. The winds and the rain are intensifying at this hour here along the southern coast of North Carolina. Here in Wilmington, though, it's still too early to assess the damage, but there are reports of roofless homes and businesses on the barrier islands. Trees snapped and signs were peeled from their posts. Throughout the Wilmington area, 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts and heavy rain forced hundreds of thousands to take refuge wherever they could.
This is our first one, and we feel a lot better here than I would probably at home.
At local schools turned shelters. At this small church.
We are urging anyone who is on the island to leave immediately.
Several families had more faith in this 42-year-old church building than in their own homes.
I know this building. We built it, raised up in it, know the foundation and all, and this is home.
Curfews will be enforced along those barrier islands, and tonight emergency workers will continue to patrol the streets looking for people who don't seem to be taking cover. They're urging those to stay inside. Brian.
Frederica, for those who did stay, any injuries to report?
At this moment, we're hearing no reported injuries.
Frederica Whitfield, Jim Avila, thank you both tonight. We want to let you know that still ahead, NBC News in depth, we will take you inside the eye of this hurricane with those who saw it up close in the air. News in depth tonight. It is more on our top story, Hurricane Bertha raking her way along the Carolina coastline. How do the forecasters figure out where a storm this big is headed? Well, some will tell you the best way to do it is to go up and look into it. They are called hurricane hunters. NBC's Jim Cummins has our in-depth report.
They fire up their engines and study their maps.
84 knots in the southeast.
These hurricane hunters are Air Force reservists, a couple of school teachers, a chemical worker, and 2 commercial airline pilots. They are on their way to a rendezvous with Bertha at 10,000 feet. This team from Mississippi was flying out of Homestead Air Force Base in South Florida, a place that knows hurricanes well. It was devastated by Andrew in 1992. Every year during hurricane season, several teams of hunters fly 12-hour missions into the Earth's most dangerous storms. It's the only way to get the weather data that might save lives.
Might get a little bouncy there, drop.
Since these missions began shortly after World War II, 25 hurricane hunters have lost their lives. But Captain Richard Henning, the weather officer on this flight, says the risks are necessary.
Satellites tell you a certain amount, but in order to find the exact location of the center and how it's behaving, you have to fly in there and find it.
40-knot winds out here already.
The object of this mission is to fly through Hurricane Bertha 4 times to measure wind speed, barometric pressure, temperature, and to find The center of the storm.
The eye of the storm.
I've never seen one like this.
Once inside the calm center, they drop a tube of weather sensor transmitters called dropsondes that relay vital information to hurricane forecasters.
We determined that it was not nearly as well organized as it was before.
That was when the storm had weakened. After just one pass through its center, this ancient Air Force transport plane developed engine trouble.
We're going to have to return to Homestead at this time.
They managed to land, got another plane, and headed back into the hurricane late in the day, where they made a startling discovery.
So how many miles per hour would that be? Oh, about 86, 87. That's pretty good winds then.
Bertha was packing more power, growing stronger.
This might be firing up because now the circulation's getting over the Gulf Stream out here.
The first indication that Bertha was going to be dangerous from one of the last teams of hurricane hunters to fly into this storm before it hit the U.S. mainland. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Homestead Air Force Base, Florida.